In your 1000 plus hours of Paladins time-sucking black hole, you've probably come across some Super Saiyan type solo care players as your opponent. They could be a one-trick pony or could be a flexing Terminator, and the worst part is that they give you such a traumatizing experience that at the end of the game, you ask yourself one universal question, and that is, why the heck I suck so bad? And why aren't they shining and I'm whining? Well, don't worry my fellas, cause in today's video, all those traumas and sickness of yours will die in a car fire. Cause today, we're gonna learn one obscure tip for every champion in the game. Special thanks to some certain people who've helped me out and spent 19 hours in in custom games with me, to help me out with the clips. And before we begin, just a very quick disclaimer, some of these champions like Victor, Tyra, Vivian, etc. are pretty straightforward. So long story short, not every champion is gonna have an obscure tip. So some of these clips are gonna be weird interactions with other champions or weird map interactions, or loadout manipulations, or reload animation cancels. Anyways, enough rambling, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Since I'm a flanker main, so let's kick things off with the flank class, shall we?
I was born in the dark.
Androxus is completely CC immune in his ultimate, so you can use it to save yourself from other champions' CC ultimates. Also, I would generally advise you to ult from above while playing Androxus, cause that way you can make the best use out of your ultimate since it's an AoE. But in crucial situations where you need to stay alive for your team, but you're about to get pulled in by Sirius's ult or about to get thrown away from the map by Toval's hyper beam, then just use the ult in the way those boosted Andro players do and save yourself. Also, quick side note, you can use a reversal to block some of the CC ultimates, but not all of them. And speaking of reversal, you can block Khan's ultimate with it if you can time it correctly.
Somebody stop me!
For Buck, people really underestimate his bounce house talent. Now I know bounce house is not in the meta, but with bounce house you can deal almost 3.6k burst damage in less than 3 seconds, depends on how fast you can flick and leap on your target. And even if you fail to land those headshots, then still it's gonna be a 2.9k burst, which is more than enough to kill any squishes in the backline. And if you still say,
"But Alex, bounce house is a topic, you know that? Disgusting. Fuck off."
well, you can have a cookie. Another fact, Buck shoots his second shot faster if he uses net shot in between his first and second shot. And people always tend to forget, you can control your hero clip in which direction you wanna go. Also, you can abuse wall jumps to reach high platforms without investing much in leg day.
Stop running around!
You can completely shut down Drogo's worm jets by going near him and ulting in midair. This will make him fall into the ground and making him a sitting turkey like we see in Thanksgivings. I highly recommend you do this when there's not much hit scan or projectile pressure in your team.
Don't blink, you'll miss it.
With this champion, you can abuse a bug, which I highly recommend you do by the way, because otherwise it'll never hit the game developer's radar and they'll probably won't even bother to fix it. It took them 2 years to fix Pip's portion bug heal. Anyways, against the treacherous gun Inara, if you dash as soon as she deploys her Warder's field, then you won't be affected by her cripple. For some reason the game doesn't register it, and you'll be completely CC immune in the field. Another thing for Koga, you can climb walls even when you're crippled and break free with your dashes or skewer. Now the actual tip. When you ult with Koga, it takes 1.04 seconds for him to form up and start slicing. And this can give enemies ample time to get away from the fog. What you can do is ult from a high ground. And by the way, you can ult instantly after using your dash. So with this tech, you can stall up to 1 second, and then when you'll fall into enemies, it'll take 0.05 seconds for you to get into the slicing stance. This will surely do some significant amount of damage, if not securing the kill. It's better than walking straight up in the enemy's face and ulting.
I will pass judgment.
With legs, you can aim the auto aim by flicking your mouse and moving your body towards the next enemy you want to switch to. Also another underrated tip, with heroism and the wicked card in the deck, you can actually go toe-to-toe with an amplified Bomb King. You just need to time your combat slice properly. The 90% damage reduction and CC reduction of heroism will help you to avoid Bomb King's boosted damage and also giving him hard time sticking those bombs on you.
Nice to meet you.
Maeve can double jump to get out of the crippling area of Inara's Warder's field and then pounce away to break free. Also another tip, Maeve's prowl is completely silent in her midnight, so you can use it to your advantage.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ready survivor, bro. So, bisa rumah.
Oh wow.
And a general tip, if you have the card chase at least level 3, then you can abuse wall jumps with your prowl speed to cover insane height and distance throughout the map. Like the little itsy bitsy cutie pie kitty you are. Okay, I'll stop.
You're kinda scary.
The obscure tip for Moji would be not to pick Moji. I'm just kidding. Sorry, spare my life. Luckily, I found a one-trick Moji player in NA server while I was partying with my imaginary girlfriend. That guy told me her best upskirt tip would be bunny hopping in her scamper to travel a bit more further than the initial. This also helps to give your enemies a hard time aiming at you and avoid some incoming damage. Also, stacking tooth counts as another upskirt tip. Well, that's what he said.
How long are you going to stare at me for?
Sky's time bomb starts cooking as soon as it hits the ground, so you can throw it in the air during a point fight or while zoning to stall and buy a little bit more time for your team.
This is my birthright!
For this tip, we contacted Alex Hamada. He is heavily known in C server for trading hentai collections with good players in exchange for boosting him. Well, this boosted guy was last seen in rank 10 with Talos when the leaderboard for every champion existed in the game. He told us that one upskirt tip for Talos would be, if you can time it correctly, then you can teleport back even if you get hooked or get stunned. You really have to time it correctly though, and one downside of this tip, you won't get your overcharge or blitz upper back if you're playing inner strength talent.
Let the bodies hit the floor!
Zin, oof. Zin is a very interesting character. He's probably the only reason why I haven't quit Paladins yet.
Yes, I survived.
After his nerf, his playstyle is even more aggressive. He's now more of a professional diver than a hybrid. Anyways, for Zen, you can escape from cripples like Evisol or Inner Stretcher's Ground by using your ultimate. Seriously, what is up with Inner players nowadays picking Stretcher's Ground against flankers? Where did you get this idea from? Unless you're running Guillotine, you should use your ult more often as for mobility purpose, rather than rushing in the backline and ulting in front of everybody. And one general tip for Zin, you should invest more points in Blade Dance, cause that way you can abuse the flank routes and roll in and roll out in crucial situations. And in some maps, alt and roll combo helps you to regroup or get into the fight almost as soon as you respawn. Moving on to the damage section.
I think you and Grumpy would get along!
Bomb King's ult always wins against Drogo's ult. You do have to detonate it when you're close though. And a general tip, you should always use Jolt against blasters, as sometimes your Poppy Bomb might get destroyed while you're in a duel with them. So to avoid your Poppy Bomb from betraying you, you should always keep Jolt against blasters.
Ziggs, that wasn't very nice.
Cassie's dodge roll is displacement immune. This means you can Poppy or bash or boop her away when she's using her dodge roll. And also one general tip, Cassie can use any ability including her ult without even getting interrupted in her primary fire.
I'll feed you to me, Kraken!
While dueling with an Eevee, you should always keep track of her blink spot. No matter how pro the Eevee is, she'll still blink back one way or the other, so you can abuse this. When she blinks, immediately throw some broadsides at her initial blink spot. It'll force her to stay away from blinking back and to fight you. And you should always win the duel if you're playing Scuttle properly, cause with Scuttle, you can deal 1.85k burst, which is more than enough to send that pesky Eevee back in the spawn room where she belongs. And if you have Hangman's Hour and Dreadnought maxed in your deck, then she can never two-shot you. Also, if an Eevee ults you, then you can show her your buttocks and place a portal in the storm and get away like nothing happened. Seriously, Dredge is one of the best counters for Eevee and most people don't know that. And if you think otherwise, well, bully for you.
Ashes to ashes.
When ulting a Leon instead of a tank, don't know why would you do that in the first place.
Fuck. Ooh! Ooh, fuck you! Fuck you!
Pretty sure she'll try to counter it with her kneel. If that's the case, then as soon as you see her kneel animation, quickly flick your mouse up and then flick down. This should save your bomb from her ultimate. And a general tip, while using the fire speed salvo combo, try to aim your fire speed a little bit away from the target when you hit the salvo. This way you can damage the enemy with all 6 rockets to gain a much more massive burst in comparison to the direct fire speed salvo combo. Cause if one of the rockets doesn't hit the fire speed, you lose 250 damage, which might save your target to live another day to tell the story to its grandchildren of how dumb you were.
Fire cannot kill a dragon.
What a lot of people mistakes about Imani's frost bomb is that they detonated way too early, and later on when they realized that the bomb dealt only 250 damage, they start writing in the chat that Imani is bugged, this game is a bug fest. Well, it is true that this game is a bug fest, but Imani's frost bomb isn't bugged. That bomb deals more damage at maximum range, means the more further distance it'll travel, the more damage it'll deal, max up to 800. So long story short, your enemies don't have to be in the center of the bomb to take the full damage. You have to let it drift for a little bit before exploding it, if you want that full juicy burst. And if you're having a duel with an enemy in mid-range, then try to detonate the bomb behind them to get the full damage. Another tip, you can actually boop up a little bit if you quickly flick and hit a tree, a rock, or an object during Frostfire Glide. And a general tip, we all know her big flying cat spawns from exactly where she is camping from. And high mobility flankers with brains can easily use this information to kill the great walk on the leader. So best advice, use your ult near your enemies and bait them out to come close to you so you can at least pick 1 or 2 targets at the start of the round. I'm pretty sure you already know this. Her ult is super useful for putting pressure and zoning enemies.
It's just business, dear.
You jump and travel faster and further, almost like a bunny hop if you have the card Prodigy at level 4 or 5 in your loadout.
Death before dishonor.
Oh, Leon, please delete this champion. You'll lose 60% of the player from the player base, but trust me, it's actually worth it. This game will feel a lot more fresh for the upcoming generation. Leon can deal 2.8k burst or 3k burst in less than 3 seconds depending on the distance in between her and the target. And from close range, she can deal a 1.6k burst in 1 second. And the best part is, even if the guy who has played Clash of Clans in his entire life, even he can execute this combo. This is the reason why she's so difficult to flank when she's sticking like a glue with her team. And if you've ever thought why she's harder to kill when you're playing flank, well, bully for you, cause now you know.
Them back level with NIP with only 3 games to go to decide the set. It would be a very big game for them to win. Well, would help in their round. Tenor though, shutting that down as well as Bonker. Well, it just feels like they didn't even get a chance this time around. Oh man.
Also, one thing about her body shape, it's so freaking weird, like she's probably the only champion in the game that can come back safely from a Turtle's Hyper Beam or Khan's Overpower, despite having such a simple F ability.
Ah, what a treasure!
Indeed.
We shall fight together!
Cassie's boyfriend can instantly delete any 2.6k HP squishies. So pick a squishy, shoot it with the impeller arrow, and as soon as you connect it, jump and use the planet. Why jump? Because this way you can avoid taking a direct damage. Also, while activating withdraw, Shaolin is also displacement immune. And one general tip, the impaler arrow knocks back enemies in which direction they're moving, not in which direction you want them to go.
It's just a visual play.
Yes! Karud.
Many men wish death upon me.
While going in stealth, you can actually shoot without breaking your cloak. Just press F, and as soon as the animation for stealth is forming, connect a shot. This will not break your stealth and will allow you to shot twice during stealth. Also another tip, if a Maeve is jumping around on top of your head and you're having trouble tracking her, then simply use your flashbang at your feet as it'll blind her and will give her a taste of her own medicine.
Don't play with fire!
An unknown tip for this Rambo would be Tara's ult completely reloads her AK-47. Means if you ult after emptying your magazine, you'll still have a full clip after finishing your ultimate. Another tip, Tara is probably the only champion we've found in the game that can cancel her reload animation almost in midway. You just interrupt the reload animation with any ability of her. So if you combine these 2 tips, you can almost shoot for 150 rounds of bullets, including the ult. Now that's sick. And a general tip, when Barrick ults, you can still send your Molotov inside his dome. All you have to do is toss it at the top of the dome, and watch how beautifully fire spreads inside the Barrick's dome and he starts getting roasted.
Last one standing wins.
Oof! Man, you fucking cunt.
Let's get this done.
An obscure tip for victory would be you can ult on stealth targets. Just spam that LMB while holding that binocular in your hand, and the rest is the artwork of the game developers.
Eyes on the prize.
Vivian's tip is probably the most hilarious one. But first, a quick reminder, you should always use the card one step ahead at max to make the best use out of this tip. Now, when you activate your shield, we all know that you can get shot at your feet, and if you try to cover your feet, your head will get exposed. So the trick here is that while retreating, you put up your shield and basically keep on looking up and down. And you can also make it a bit more difficult for the enemy if you jump while doing it. Now this is pure autism, I know, but it's completely worth it when you're falling back from a fight and don't want to take any unnecessary damage. Even the aimbot will have a hard time landing any lucky shots.
Look at me! I'm harmless!
Always use Flutter to gain momentum and then ult. This will be a lot more fun in the next patch since Flutter is getting a buff. Moving on to the tanky.
Time is on our side.
This guy is a son of a gun. He is probably the only champion in the game whose escape ability, in his case his rewind, isn't affected by any sort of cripple. That includes Eevee's ult as well. I mean, first you can break his shield, and now you can cripple him.
Yes, we can!
No, you can't. Also, another tip, if you're playing Deja Vu, then throw a setback 180 upwards during a point fight, and after 9 seconds it'll come back and land somewhere close where it was initially thrown. And the cool part is, by the time it comes back and lands, you'll have another setback ready.
I love rock and roll.
Ashe can ult quickly in narrow spaces. It's so quick that it's actually difficult for the enemies to even react. And a general tip for Ashe, place your shield backwards while retreating. It's gonna slowly but surely block some incoming damage and save that Ashe.
Never trust a man with no beard!
Barrick is also displacement immune in his rocket boost.
Señorita, I will not forget you.
If you're taking multiple damage from multiple sides, then slowly moonwalk backwards while rapidly flicking your mouse left to right. This actually helps to avoid some unnecessary damage. And while retreating, you can use your charge in a very funky way. It's obvious if you reach it like this, you'll take some damage since your backside is exposed. So to perform it like a pro, you gotta first set where you wanna go, then quickly jump and flick 180 back and activate your charge ability and then quickly flick 180 front. This will allow you to charge backwards but facing your shield towards your enemies.
I have no time for your pleasantries.
If Inara's Earthen Guard is up, then her Water Sphere also gets a 30 to 50% damage reduction depending on which talent card she is using. Another tip, when Torva ults you and you're about to get thrown away from the map, then pretty sure some of you will try to use your ult to save yourself. But long story short, this way you'll die and you'll also lose your ult. Cause after when your ult animation is finished, then you'll still get carried away by the momentum of the Hyper Beam. Same case if you're running Mother's Grace and activated Earthen Guard. So best advice, try not to waste your ult and try to save yourself using Earthen Guard.
I'll never give in to you, circus freaks.
You can hide your head when using Bulwark if you jump, cause champions like Bomb King, Jurgo, Xin, etc. can still find your head while you're using your shield. So jumping kinda negates the incoming damage. Another tip, Khan is also a fast reload animation canceller like Tyra.
I will not be stopped.
When you're ulting with Makoa and got low pretty fast, then you can cancel his ult to gain some health and sustain a bit longer. Also another tip, you can deal a 1.5 to 2k burst depending on the talent you're using. And a general tip, Makoa's hook is actually a very weird projectile, and if you're one of those person like Alex Hamada who can't land a single hook and got frustrated and stopped playing Koa, well, there's a tip for you. If you just track and keep on shooting, then pretty much all your shots will land, but if you simply track and hook, then it'll fail almost 90% of the time. Why? Because in order to land most of your hooks, you need to use flick shot, Don't worry, learning flickshot is super easy in Paladins, and if you're playing co-op for a while now, then pretty sure you're already doing it unconsciously. So after when you get the hang of his cannon flicks, just flick a little bit more to the direction where your enemies are going, and boom, here's your dinner. Just practice, and once you get the hang of it, then hooking will become almost your second nature. Okay, that sounds pretty wrong.
Sexy lady.
Focus, Ruckus.
You can walk a little bit while hexafiring, so use it to advantage while ulting from high grounds.
You are no god.
If you get stunned while using Shadowfall, then you can Shadowfall again, and with this you can cover a decent amount of distance, but of course you must need to have resilience too. And a general tip, when you're sandwiched, then before wasting all your siphon energy, use your Shadowfall to reposition yourself first, then use your Power Siphon.
You can't fool an intelligent mind, son.
What a lot of people don't know about Torvald is that he's not only an amazing supportive tank, but also an item master as well. You can get such a great value for buying Bulldozer or Wrecker with him besides Cut and Chronos. And a general tip, you can kill low history targets with your ult.
I am the master of the arcane.
Indeed. And finally, we have the support class.
Be humble, mortal.
You can save your teammates from Ruckus's Hexafire, but be very careful because as soon as your ult animation is finished, you need to look out for a cover. Otherwise your team won't have a healer.
I'm the queen now. Wait.
If you're playing the blue boy as damage, then the main source of your sustain will be the lightning rod. Don't invest in Gale, as the totem is only there to help you to be a bit more tanky. And for healing grog, if you're running a good heal loadout, then buy Chronos. This will allow you to place 2 healing totems back to back. And a general tip for placing his totems, always try to place it where your allies are about to go, not where they are. And always hide the totem from enemy LOS by placing it behind a wall or an object.
I saw you coming the whole way.
Grover can vine on his allies. Also another tip, you can make his axe curved by flicking quickly after the throw.
Is war the only language they understand?
When you void grip someone, you can hide underneath the target, and making it super difficult for your void victim to aim at you. And also keep in mind, this trick won't work if you're hiding underneath a blaster or someone who's got area abilities.
Don't be salty.
With Thamba, you can detonate your ult in midair by pressing E again.
You're blue, dead.
Pip can bunny hop with his LMB. It's faster than walking and gonna help you save that weightless as well. Also, you can use wall jumps with weightless to gain insane height and mobility. And a general tip, you can explode your healing potion in midair by pressing Q again.
Justice is a mortal construct.
You can cancel your restore soul by pressing RMB again, and you should better do it when you're being picked by an enemy flanker while healing someone. And a general tip, always try to toss your ult a bit further behind the enemy backline. That way, enemy tanks who are shielding in front will either get pulled in, or they'll turn back, leaving their back exposed for you and your team to put some sun lotions on.
I like where this is going.
And lastly, we have Ying. If you're almost low and your teammates need heals, then it's safe to use your ult even if you know you're gonna die afterwards, cause your ult still heals people over its duration even when you're dead. And that's all there is to it. If you made it to this long, well, thank you, and I've got some sweet stuff for you. There's a crystal selling set that sells Paladins crystals for 60% off, and if you tell them that I sent you and put down the promo code PB while purchasing crystals from them, then you'll get a 3% cashback. And if you have any questions regarding the site, then I'll leave a link to their FAQ site down below, where you can ask all your questions. And don't worry, they're super nice and they will respond to you. And lastly, shout out to those awesome people in my Discord server, especially to my mods, Bloom, Aggie, Sylv, Mr. Daddy, Behold, and from Button Smashers, Nick, MABITE, and Devil. And among them, Aggressive and Nick have a YT channel. I'll put down the links in the description. And if you want to help me out with my future contents, or just want to hang out or chill with us in the realm, then I highly request you to join my Discord server. It's new, it's fresh, and you'll have a ton of fun time there. And if you like to watch funny clickbait Paladins videos with boobs on the thumbnail, or some sick gameplays where boosted massive players are bullying bronze players, or guides like just this one, then please just subscribe and turn on the bell, so you don't miss any one of those. And also, when I reach a certain threshold of subscribers, I do make a gun sync. The last one was pretty dope, and this time I'm close to 10k. So help me reach there fast so that I can make another gun sync. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.